There we go.
I don't know. I'm waiting for it to say you are live because I haven't seen it yet.
We're live, brother.
Yeah.
All right, Mike's having some heat.
Are we
Oh, no.
live?
He's froze up on me. You guys too?
Well, that's just wonderful. I like Mike Ballantyne, top left. Mitch Moneybags Middlebrooks, top right. Bottom left, Cowboy Reggie with the big old helmet and a star on his chest.
Oh,
And he's out.
He gone. He gone. Hey, we're still live though.
Yeah, I mean, all right, let's get into it.
Let's roll, Mitch.
That's fine.
Bro.
You know, we can 3-man show here. I think we'll do all right. Well, thank you both for joining. Exciting show today. Glad to have you guys ready to talk about some Dallas Cowboys. Oof. I mean,
oh man,
I won't.
A ratings booster tonight, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Everyone loves to
be here.
Everyone loves. Yeah, they love us a lot right now, boy. I tell you.
Well, actually, I think they like you more this year than they usually do.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Can't say much more than you guys will, but let's jump right into it. So you guys, huge Cowboy fans, obviously. You have your own Cowboys podcast, which remind me the name, sorry.
Sons of the Star.
All right, Sons of the Star podcast. We got you here. Mike, we got you back, it looks like.
I hope so. For God's sake, this is ticking me off. I'm about to throw this laptop across the room, boys.
Sound good.
Yeah,
okay,
sounds good
so here we go, right? Everybody can hear me, right? Dallas, you got me?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, good. Hopefully this stays, all right? We'll just pray. Cross our Cowboys fingers, right? Okay, so let's jump right into this, right? I know you guys got to get to your podcast. It is Sons of Star podcast. Thank you guys both for being on with us today. To Cowboy Reggie there, bottom left, and to Dallas, bottom right. Thank you guys very much for being on here. The Cowboys are a mess. I kind of like it because I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I'm sure the two of you don't like it very well. Let's jump into some questions here. This was our Twitter poll question, and I shut everything down but StreamYard, so I can't tell you how well it did or how many people voted or what they even said. Because I don't know what's going on with the internet over here or whatever it is, but I just jumped off of everything. So the first question that I'll ask, and Dallas, I'll start with you, buddy. Jerry Jones doesn't care about the Cowboys winning. He only cares about the Cowboys making money. Would you say that's true, false, or take up for Jerry Jones, buddy?
Oh man, that's a tough question. A lot to unpack there. I think at a time when, and obviously this is going before my time and into Cowboy Reggie's time here. So at the time when he bought the team,
just so you know.
Yeah. Well, he is my dad,
good.
so I mean he is older. He's much older than me.
I can't hide my age from him.
Yeah, and then obviously his beard usually isn't this gray, but this season's just ruining the guy. So I mean he's been through a lot. But I think, at the time to build his wealth and to build the team, obviously winning was at the forefront of Jerry's mind. That's why he had so much success early on as an owner and GM. But, as time has moved on, I think more of that building the empire that is the Dallas Cowboys might have become the more important thing to Jerry while trying to juggle all that he has to do as a GM, as an owner, and he's aging, so he is not a spring chicken. As old as he is, it's honestly impressive that he's able to do what he does. But I don't know. I think at this point of his life, obviously he needs the team to win. But like I say all the time on our podcast, and Cowboy Reggie and I talk about, like, he's got to have his hands in the mix too. So yes, he does want to win, but he wants to be the reason the Cowboys win, right? And if he truly wanted the team to win without him, he would have stepped down as GM by now. But obviously, he wants to be involved in that process. He's got a good track record. He's done some good things as a GM, even recently with some draft picks. But when it comes to picking coaches, when it comes to staying out of the media so his team doesn't get distracted and all those other things, he's really failed as a GM. He would have been fired as a GM many times throughout the past, 30 plus years, but he's not going to fire himself. So, I mean, it is what it is, and it's not going to change anytime soon, except for the fact that he is aging quite a bit. So,
yeah, I agree completely. And I think the thing that is lost more recently is that Jerry Jones has done well at both aspects of that. He's created the Cowboys into an unbelievably valuable franchise, and he's also had success on the field when he's been the owner and GM of the Cowboys. So I think now it's easy for fans or maybe people that don't have that insight into what Jerry Jones created previously to say, "Oh, he's terrible." He's really hurting the franchise and he's done nothing for him. But to not have that context of like, well, actually, he's done both things. They're just not getting it done on the field right now. I think is a huge thing to point out. Cowboy Reg, where do you stand on, where Jerry Jones is right now and what's most important for him with the Cowboys?
Well, I thought Dallas and I would disagree on this, but I actually agree with what he said. And the short answer is yes, he actually does want the team to win, because you might run a poll where 90% of people will say Jerry only cares about the money. But if you run a poll about does Jerry want to be GM, 90% of the people will say yes, of course he wants to be GM. He keeps himself in that position. So he really believes that he can win. He's just terrible at his job. So you can't have it both ways. You can't say he only cares about the money, but then he's doing all these personnel decisions. In his eyes, he's trying to better the franchise. In our eyes, and what we see on the field coming true now in front of our eyes, is he's terrible at his job. So I wouldn't let him off the hook by saying he's just trying to make money. That's letting him off the hook. Let's call it for what it is. He's terrible at his job.
Yeah, I think you guys both make a great point. In Dallas, especially, it's not that he doesn't want to win. It's that he wants to win as GM. He doesn't want to step down and then win.
Yeah.
He needs to win for his own, ego, whatever it may be. He needs to win as the GM. And either way, he's going to make money.
Yeah.
Yeah, like let's say he steps down as GM, right? And the Cowboys, for some, I don't know. They win the Super Bowl in the next 3-4 years, right? All the stories are going to say is the Cowboys win after Jerry finally steps down as GM. So like he can't win at this point. So I mean, unfortunately, like we say, I think until he's literally like health wise incapable of running the team, which I don't know what at that point is. The guy's probably going to live to be 120. So we're probably stuck with him my entire lifetime too.
Yeah, that's a good point. We keep looking at his age and we're thinking, well, the average American male lives to be, 80 or whatever, 78, whatever it is. But then you look at Jerry and you see the way, I mean, you got to admit the dude for 80 years old, and I think he might even be older than 80, he's pretty sharp and he's pretty quick on his feet, and you don't see him getting a lot of assistance. Let's put it that way. I'm afraid he might live another 20 years and keep running this team. You're right. Damn, you just kind of ruined my night again. He has a habit of doing that.
Well, I think, to be honest, it's one or two. He either lives to 150 and never wins, or the Cowboys end up killing him from like a devastating Super Bowl loss or something.
He should. Well, yeah, he should. He should be so lucky if we get to the Super Bowl again.
Yeah.
He'd probably have a heart attack because we're in the freaking Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be because of the outcome. It would be like, oh man, we're back.
Yeah, those 2 weeks leading up to him,
that could do it.
On life alert for sure. So going into question 2 here, Dak's out, obviously. You got Cooper Rush and Trey Lance sitting kind of waiting behind him. Which QB, if you're the coach or GM, do you start for the rest of the season, and why?
You want me to go to first on this one? Or you want
Yeah, go ahead, Cowboy Rich. No.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit on our show, and I think we both came into agreement last week that we're all in on Cooper Rush. Okay, the guy's 5-1. He's come in as a backup the week before when Dak went down and actually drove, had a nice drive, touchdown, 2-point conversion. They tried an onside kick, didn't get it, and we're like, In Cooper, we trust. Here we go, baby. He was awful. He threw for 45 yards. That's not an NFL quarterback. I'm going Trey Lance now because the season is lost. Winning is actually what you probably don't want to do at this point. You don't want to string 3 or 4 wins together and then just not make the playoffs and get a mid-range draft pick. So if Cooper throws, if Trey Lance goes in there and throws 5 picks, but he's moving the ball down the field and we score some points, at least that would be fun to watch. Because that garbage on the field last Sunday, I wasted my afternoon, man. I could have been in the park bird watching. That would have been better than that. Unfortunately, I was bird watching in another way. But, yeah, I'm going Trey Lance from here on out. That's my answer.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Where do you stand, Dallas?
Man, this one's tough. Cooper really disappointed. I'm going to read a stat I have on Cooper Rush, and bear with me because it's a little tricky. So since 2016, 4,306 times in the NFL, a quarterback has attempted 20 passes in a game. Cooper Rush's 45 yards last week was the lowest of those 4,306 times that a quarterback has thrown for 20 passes in the NFL game. So it's a historically bad performance. Now, This is where it's tricky because, and I'm still leaning towards Cooper Rush in this next game because
he'll probably start.
That was he will. Mike McCarthy did declare him as a starter, so he is starting. But it's tricky because of how well he has performed as a backup before. And I still think, I thought before last week he was one of the better backup quarterbacks in the league. He's coming up on free agency this year. So do you want to burn that bridge? Cooper Rush is a guy that if he comes in for 3 or 4 games when the team is good around him, this is what happened a couple years ago back in 2022. That's when he came in and he won 4 games. He went 4-1 that year. That's what he's meant to do. If Dak's hurt for 4 to 6 weeks, Cooper Rush can come in and keep the season alive. Now, when you're talking about a situation where the season's over and Dak's out for the year, what's the point of starting him? Other than if you bench him for Trey Lance, he's going to hit free agency next year. He probably will be pissed off at the Cowboys and won't want to come back. So then what do you do as a backup quarterback? Now you're coming off your franchise quarterback dealing, he's aging too. Season-ending injury this past year. Is he really going to be that healthy next year? You got to think about a backup situation for next year. Is Trey Lance the answer? He hasn't shown that he is. He played all preseason, didn't play very well. He had flashes. He had some flashes, but overall didn't have a good body of work. And he's also up for free agency next year as well. So if you burn the bridge with Cooper, Trey Lance starts the rest of the year, sucks ass, then, either you bring up Will Greer, who, he's
the
thrill guy, or you draft a quarterback this next year, and that'll be interesting. But even if you draft a quarterback this upcoming draft, he's got to be your backup potentially coming in because Dak's coming off a bad injury. So there's no right answer. I didn't really give you a solid answer there, but I say start Cooper one more week, maybe this week, and even if he's dog crap again through the first half, maybe it's time to start Trey the rest of the year and just let Cooper Rush do his own thing from there on out. Or maybe he's bad enough to no team will want to pick him up in free agency this next year. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I agree. And we've seen Cooper Rush win. We've seen him, as you said, step in and win ball games when he has a good team around him that's performing well. But that's just not this team. And I think, if you want to make the games watchable for you, at least as a Cowboys fan, Trey Lance gives you the best chance at actually making some exciting plays and doing some things probably, exciting for the other team's defense and your offense a little bit too.
Right. Make it watchable.
A little bit more.
Yeah.
And if you want to be exciting and, in close games but still lose, I think Trey Lance actually gives you the best chance to do both of those than Cooper Rush, because right now it's just Cooper Rush is going out there to lose. So, yeah, I think that those are good points. And honestly, looking into the future, I think that's a really good perspective, Dallas, because you do kind of need a backup with Dak's injury history. But, if Cooper keeps going out there and doing what he did last weekend, the fan base is going to turn on him too, not just him turning on the Cowboys. So it's it's kind of a lose-lose situation no matter what you do.
Yeah. I think he's on a short leash. He'll start, but he's got to do something in that first half, or I think he's done. And that's on him, because if they don't throw him away after one game, and Dallas just said they announced McCarthy saying that he's starting him, that means they're giving him another chance. But I don't think they owe him anything after that first half. If he goes in there and throws 20 yards in the first half and, we're losing 6-0 or something, he's got to go, man. We don't owe him anything. I don't think that we should be operating a franchise with, let's worry about if this player is going to make money as a free agent. I think the best player needs to be on the field. Right now, Cooper gets one more chance, and I'm okay with that. But I think we see Trey Lance probably in the second half. I have zero faith in Cooper right now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
What I would like to see is to put Trey Lance out there and maybe we run the triple option. That's something I'm not hearing people say, but let's just run the option and muck it up and see if we might go happens. When's the last time NFL teams run triple option out there? So
yeah, and some of that military academy. He's got a military academy background, Mitch. So he really pushes this triple option
all day.
Yeah,
I'm with you there. And honestly, the lack of tape that's out there for Trey Lance, you can at least do something and try to get over on some defenses. But right now, it's a one-dimensional offense. You take out CeeDee Lamb and
we saw what would happen.
So,
that's what happened. What you saw Sunday, they doubled CD the whole game. That's what happens.
Yep.
Game over.
And that kind of leads us into our next topic of, so when you're watching these Cowboy games, are you more worried about them getting embarrassed or just beat at this point? Because, the way they played recently, you kind of know they're going out there to get beat. But are you watching hoping for a win, or are you hoping they don't get embarrassed?
Oh, there you go.
Oh, man.
That's you.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
Man, these past few weeks, it's been about, hey, can we maybe get these games tight and come out with a win? Because we saw them scrape out a win in Pittsburgh, which I don't understand how that happened.
We still can't figure out how that happened.
Maybe it's the Russell Wilson effect there, but I still think, looking at this Cowboys team, I don't understand how they were 3-2 after leaving Pittsburgh, and now they are where they are. But as of now, I guess it's just getting blown out. But a loss is a loss. Yes, it will make it more interesting if they can hang into some games, maybe squeak out some wins. But at the same time, you gotta play the game of, hey, we gotta really rebuild this team. So honestly, the worse you do, the better draft pick you get. But I hate doing that, and I don't know if it's just 1 year. I don't know how big of a difference that makes in the overall culture and the buy-in from this team. So if you just completely go out there and blow it, yeah, sure, you may get a top 5 draft, but is that top 5 draft going to make a difference if it's 5 or 10, depending on who it is? Who knows? And if Jerry's picking them, who knows? So, it's just one of those things. I hope they can go and make it competitive, but at this point, the other point of that too is I also kind of want this thing to blow up in Jerry's face, because I think he lied to the franchise in the offseason, saying that after we saw the embarrassment in the playoffs against Green Bay, we were going to go all in. We're going to do whatever we can to win this year, which I thought the team was still built to do when he made those comments, and they've done the complete opposite. They set this team up to be like a soft rebuild, but they lied to the fan base, which I hate. So I also want this thing to blow up in Jerry's face and it to be embarrassing so it doesn't happen again. So I kind of want them to just get blown out. But at the same time, I really hate watching it. And I can't help myself. I can't turn the TV off whenever they're playing, because I'm just a sucker for pain. So I'm going to sit through all those blowout losses, and eventually I'm not going to want that anymore. But for the time being, I'd like them to just get killed and let this thing blow up in Jerry's face.
Yeah, it's blowing up. It's happening.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and there's no sign of it getting better right now, at least. I have to imagine these primetime games that they have scheduled the rest of the season, they're going to get flexed out of.
I hope they do. See, that's hitting Jerry's wallet. When you flex that primetime game out, that's hitting Jerry, and it's his team's not in primetime and people aren't seeing the star. They're not buying the star. So that I hope it happens. I hope it happens. I don't want people watching this product, right? So keep it off of primetime. Get it out of there. They don't deserve it.
That is not going to get flexed, and that's the Thanksgiving game against the Giants.
Yeah.
And that one is going to be tough, I think, for a lot of people to watch. To watch Daniel Jones, if he's still the starter in New York. And
he probably won't be by then.
Yeah, honestly.
We'll be seeing two lousy backups dueling. It's going to be a kicker's duel.
Yeah. I think that's going to be a tough one to watch.
I'm looking at tickets, man. Tickets are $33. You can get a cheap ticket there on Thanksgiving for $33. I mean, that's unheard of.
Yeah.
Dallas, you've been to a Thanksgiving game, haven't you? I mean, that usually it's
No, I haven't. I haven't.
Oh, your wife has.
Yeah. No, that's all right. No, we don't. I've thought about doing a Thanksgiving game. It's just.
I thought you went to one a couple years ago, but that was.
I went to one near close to Thanksgiving, but not on Thanksgiving.
You went to a Sunday.
And I'm not doing it this year. That's for sure.
No.
Yeah, stay away. I don't know. Even for $33, I don't know if that'd be good here.
I'm not missing my Thanksgiving dinner for the 6-3 game.
Yeah. So here's the other thing that's put the Cowboys in a tough spot, and I don't know if this is accurate. This is pretty mind blowing to me. Is it true the Cowboys have 54% of their payroll locked up in 2 players right now?
Dallas, he's the expert on this. He'll break it down for you. He's the cap. You call Stephen Jones Cap Boy. Here's another Cap Boy right here. He knows his stuff.
Well, there's in 2025 next year they'll have about 45% in Dak and CD. If you include Micah's current contract in that mix, it gets closer to that 54 number. So it's somewhere around there, 45, 50-ish. But I include the top 3 in that mix, so that'll put you over 50 if you include. And that's Micah's current contract. That's not what he's going to want to renegotiate over. He's going to pull the whole sit out for training camp again next year and want his contract restructured. He's not a free agent until 2026, but expect him to sit out this next year and get that contract work. So if you include his current contract, CD and Dak, who they're both locked up, you're over that 50% number, and that's a danger zone for sure. I think a lot of teams are going to end up there with the way that quarterbacks and skill guys are getting paid right now. Hopefully, you get another adjustment in the cap next year and that number lowers, but it won't lower a ton. That percentage won't lower a ton. So yeah, it's tough. And when you got a guy that's, over 30% of your cap that's on the bench, I mean, that makes it even harder. So yeah, they're in a tough spot when it comes to the cap.
Yeah, that's putting it lightly. I mean, where do you even go from here? What kind of free agency are you looking at if you're the Cowboys? Reg, we'll let you jump in on this one first. What does this team do?
The funny thing is they have room right now. They could have signed guys this year. They could have easily fit Derrick Henry's contract into their current salary structure. Easily. I mean, $16 million for 2 years, and they never called the guy. So I don't think there's a problem in the other thing about salary cap, those 54% or whatever estimate is we don't know what the bump is next year. Remember, the bump this year was the largest percentage they've ever bumped, ever. Now the teams are going to expect that or more. They're going to expect that. So, it may not be as bad as it sounds. We called it on our show. If you go back and watch our episodes, the entire offseason, we agreed that they would extend CD and Micah Parsons. We thought Dak was the third guy to worry about because Dak was playing for his money. He wasn't sitting out. He showed up to training camp. They should have just let him play for his money, in our opinion. What we've said on the show is we should have had Micah and CD both signed by now. And then you'd be sitting there going, man, I don't know. Maybe we're going to draft a quarterback now because, Dak coming off injury and all that. Well, we don't even have that luxury anymore because they locked him up for 4 years. So now they got a Micah problem, And, man, he was a game changer. I mean, the only reason they were in that entire first half was Micah Parsons. He single-handedly changed the way they were playing for quite some time. Then they doubled him and they doubled CD, and Dallas had nothing else. There's no other superstar on that team right now.
Yeah, this is where Jerry really goofed it up, and Stephen Jones goofed it up. It is obviously I don't disagree with re-signing Dak. I mean, you look at his body of work and how important that position is and what he can do for you. He's extremely valuable, but we thought the move was Jerry told us we're all in. So it's like, okay, the first thing that's going to get done is Dak's going to sign kind of a not necessarily money-wise a team-friendly deal. Maybe I would hope he would have taken a bit of a pay cut, but you really work his contract into where these next few years you can sign some guys and build up a team, right? Well, that's the opposite of what they did. They waited till the day of their first game to sign him. So now you've built no back-end money for your guy. And they signed him for 4 years, $240 million. So now he's eating up cap. You still got to sign Micah. And then CD did the same thing. And he missed all training camp. And we saw in those first few games, he was obviously not, he was out of the flow because he hadn't been playing ball. So, yeah, they goofed it up. And now they're, they're in a really tough spot. Free agency, I haven't looked at guys to go get yet really for next season because I was hoping I'd still be paying attention to the team this time of year, but that's something I'll have to do. Some of the big guys are going to have to re-sign. Well, Rico Dowell, their RB1, they're going to have to re-sign next year. Jordan Lewis, who's actually, I think, been playing pretty well. Eric Kendricks is on a 1-year deal. He hasn't played that great. They're going to lose Zach Martin either to retirement, or I think he's going to go to another team next year. I'm not expecting him back. DeMarcus Lawrence is a free agent next season. So those are some of the big guys. The other one, too, is I believe Brandon Aubrey is a free agent next year, and he's our most valuable player. So, expect him to get paid $75 million a year with Jerry working these contracts. So you got Dak, Brandon Aubrey, CD. You're going to have 75% of your cap right there, and then they're going to be playing, everyone else is going to be a rookie.
We'll have all the USFL guys come over and fill those spots. Turpin and
honestly, the way Aubrey's been kicking, I mean, yeah, I think you got to bring him back, whatever he has, because he's the only
team
one
is so bad. The team's so bad that when Aubrey lines up for a 50-plus yarder, I actually usually stand up and I watch it like it's a big deal. I mean, the kid is he's not a kid. He's freaking 30 years old. He just started playing football late. He didn't play college football. He's an amazing story. But every time he comes up to kick, you're going to see something where when he's kicking a 50-yarder, you don't even consider whether he's going to make it. Because last I looked, I think he was 9 for 10 from 50-plus. What I look for is he going to hit the back of the net? That's the only thing you can watch it for, because he's going to make it, but maybe hits the back of the net. And you go, damn, that would have been good from 65, Other than that, there's not much to watch.
And that's honestly what you got to start watching for, because you'll probably start taking those 65-yarders pretty soon here.
I predicted
might as well, right?
I predicted it in the preseason, in our preseason show. My prediction was Brandon Aubrey breaks the NFL record this year and hits a 67-yarder. They say he hits from 72 in practice, and I'm talking like a full contact with special teams. And 72 is his range. So we know he can hit from 67.
It's absurd.
Did he hit a 66 in preseason? That doesn't, because they did it in preseason, it doesn't count. It would have been the second.
It didn't count. It was a 66.
Longest field goal. Yeah. But he's hit a 65 this year, correct?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, he's got like the third longest ever kick now. So that's what we can look. Hey, let's not turn the game off. Aubrey might break the NFL record. That might be our only reason for watching this season.
Yeah, hopefully he can get that done on Thanksgiving too. And
Thanksgiving,
cheer
there it is.
Yeah,
Jerry would like that though. We don't want Jerry happy.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Maybe we root against him on that one.
No, we love Aubrey.
Yeah, honest. How can't you? He's really been the lone bright spot, especially this season. So that's on the field. If we move to the sidelines and we're talking coaching, what do you guys first of all think about Mike McCarthy, his future in Dallas, and when that day comes, where do you see Dallas moving on to after McCarthy's days are done?
Oh man, go ahead, Cowboy Reg. He loves him some McCarthy.
Yeah, McCarthy should have been gone Monday morning. I mean, there was no excuse for him to be with this team any longer, because the only in-season coaching move Jerry ever made was firing Wade Phillips because he embarrassed the franchise in a primetime game. I believe the Packers blew us out in a primetime Sunday night game or something. And he fired him. And he had never done that before, and he had never done it since. Well, that's exactly what we saw on the field Sunday. So I honestly thought there was a chance that Jerry would pull the trigger. And I think what they got in mind is a new direction next year. It might be Belichick, or it might be a college coach that Jerry's looking at right now. That's where it probably goes. So I don't think firing McCarthy now helps you get to that point, because if you get an intern coach and he goes and wins some games, that's what Jason Garrett did. We were there for one of them. We thought it was great. They beat the Colts the year the Colts went to the Super Bowl. Jason Garrett was coaching that team, and he kept the job, and it was the worst thing that ever happened to the Cowboys. So as emotional as am I about firing McCarthy, he shouldn't even have a key to his office tomorrow morning. He should be done. I think the smart thing is to probably keep him, and then you could start fresh. But he's gone. This is the last year of his contract. That's unheard of, to have a coach in their last year, unless you just absolutely don't believe in him. And I think Jerry's done with him. I think the two of them, there's been little comments made even in the preseason where you're like, man, I'm not sure they're on the right page or on the same page. So I think he's on his way out the door. We just might have to wait a while.
Okay, no, wait a minute. Can everybody hear me now?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Can everybody hear me now?
Yeah, let's go.
I think I came on at the right time. I don't know. I have redone this computer. I have done all kinds of crazy crap. So here we go. I came back at the right time, because let me tell you what's going to happen to Dallas next year and who this coach is going to be next year. You ready?
I'm ready.
It's prime. It is prime time.
No.
Deion Sanders is going to come from Colorado, and he is going to come into Dallas. He's going to dance on that star, and he's going to make your team better. Here he comes. What do you think? Prime time.
They've already addressed that. Go ahead, Dallas. You tell him. You know about this stuff. I love Prime. He doesn't love Prime. I love Prime because I lived through his career. He didn't. So we both kind of feel differently about Prime, but he knows the story. Go ahead. That's probably not exactly how he does it, but
that's as good as a white boy can dance. Okay, that's it. That's as good as I got.
I loved it. It looked good to me. It looked good to me. Man, yeah. I don't dislike Deion. I dislike what the media has crowned him to be. I'm not a Colorado fan, like Cowboy Red said. I went to Air Force, so I don't like Colorado as a football team. I like to be the Kings of Colorado. That's what we were before Coach Prime came in, even though we would have beat the crap out of him last year, and not this year. Air Force is really bad at football. But I don't see why you would make a move like that, because what makes Coach Prime so great is because he is a great recruiter. He could bring talent into his program. You don't need that in the NFL. Recruiting's not a thing. So when it comes to X's and O's, not Joe's, right? I don't trust in Deion. Like, what is he as a tactical coach on the football field? I get he's been there before. He's been obviously he knows a lot about football. But I'm just saying, what makes him so great as a coach is the talent he's able to bring into his programs. It sounds like a nightmare as a Cowboys fan. I think everybody would love to see it outside the Cowboys. And as much as I want to dismiss you, I think about it from Jerry's perspective. And if he wants to make so much money to when his great grandkids will still have billions, bring in Coach Prime, because if that's what he wants to do, is his legacy is all about money. That would be the ultimate money move. They would be bringing in so much money, and they could be awful, and it wouldn't matter because everybody would watch those games. I mean, you talk about how many primetime games the Jets have had this year. Cowboys will be in primetime every week next season with Coach Prime in there. Every single week there would be a primetime game. I think it's a terrible decision as a Cowboys fan. No disrespect to Dion. I don't think that's the move you make. I don't think that's what this team needs right now.
Well, Dion said he wouldn't do it. I mean, he's on the record saying he does not want to go into the NFL. And he said something about, you know, the players aren't the same players I played with. I can't relate to them. But I can, you know, he's all about growing young men and lifting, you know, young boys up from the age of 18 and making them men. That's a different story in the NFL. And I think he's really good at what, you know, just like Dallas said, he's really good at what he does right now, which is recruit. And in the NCAA, it's all about recruiting. And you don't have a salary cap. You just have a number of scholarships. So, and Dion is famous for cut, bring the next guy in, bring the next guy in, because he's got guys lined up that want to play for him. That ain't happening in the NFL.
I'm sorry, buddy. Mitch, I know you haven't talked for a while, but you know, I apologize here. We're all dominating this space for a second, but I've been sitting on the sidelines for the first part of this segment, killing myself trying to get in here. So Dallas, you don't think? Let's set this up, right? Prime comes in. His son is drafted by the Dallas Cowboys because they're terrible for the rest of the year and don't win a game, right? So now he's in Dallas. He has his son as the quarterback. Or he has what's the other guy's name? Travis Hunter, right? One of those two. I would think Dallas is going to get to choose one of those two guys coming in. So you don't think that Dion would come in getting paid tons of money, being with his son, being the Dallas Cowboy, and then he starts to go to all the other players that he used to be with, right? All of the other, and he'd bring in a bunch of coaches that are just like him, right? And then you're going to tell me that you don't think NFL players are going to go, yeah, I want to go play for Dion.
Look, man, I don't. I would take Travis Hunter first of all. I think Travis Hunter's an absolute dog. If the Cowboys do finish last in the NFL this year, I don't necessarily see that happening. But yeah, I mean, I guess they'd be close now. I mean, that's a good situation.
But you don't need to. I mean, if Sanders goes first, Hunter could go second, third.
He's not. He's absolutely not going first. Travis Hunter will go first. Shador's not even the top quarterback projected. I think he's at like 3. So, you know, and that's projections. Who knows what'll happen?
Which means he might be on the board when Dallas is picking. And boy, that's going to be a circus at the draft.
I'm not in what the things that you're saying. I'm not saying won't happen. I just, from a Cowboys perspective, I think it's a terrible idea. The last thing you want to do with this team is more of a media circus at this point. It just, I don't know. I mean, yeah, he might be able to bring in some coordinators. I don't know who would be out there. I mean, I'm looking at guys like Ben Johnson from Detroit potentially coming in to be a head coach for us. I mean, I don't know who Dion brings in from either college. Maybe, Lincoln Riley after a failure at USC. If Dion could bring someone like that in from college, maybe you're talking about something. That's a guy that I think could be a good NFL OC. So, yeah, I mean, you're kind of talking me into it. I still don't believe it. As a Cowboys fan, I still don't like it, but I can see a scenario where, I'm not saying it won't happen because, I mean, Jerry is, when you talk about that would be the ultimate thing to do if you want to make money. I don't see it being successful for the Dallas Cowboys. There's just too much there, too much going on.
You guys have to go, right? Because your show starts in like less than 10 minutes, right?
Yeah, we're flexible. We can keep going.
We'll go right up to 9 with you, and then, 8 your time, and then
I just don't want to run you guys out.
No, we're good. We start late all the time. That's why we're laughing.
So do we, because this guy over here can't run nothing. So
that's why I was laughing. I'm like, man, this happens to us every week. It's like we never go right on time. So don't worry about it. Right. Let's roll.
All right. Well, if I didn't have Mitch over here, this we'd all be staring at each other still, going, I don't know what's going on. I don't know. The big fat ugly guy disappeared. I don't know where he went. Right. So, thank you, Mitch, for holding everything down, holding everything together.
Awesome.
Yeah, Mike, the big fat ugly guy, Mike McCarthy, he's still in Dallas. That's the problem.
Poor Mike. He's always catching strays.
He's the worst, man. I thought Jason Garrett was the worst, and Mike is like, hold my Waffle House menu. I'm the worst.
Honestly, the signing never made sense to me after getting ran out of Green Bay to bring him back into Dallas. They weren't setting him up for success anyways. I think the only way that Dion becomes the head coach of the Cowboys, one, is if they draft Shedeur, which I don't think they will. Two, I don't see it likely because of exactly what you said, Dallas. It's not his strong suit. His strong suit isn't the X's and O's and being a great head coach. His strong suit in what he can kind of put his ego onto if the team doesn't perform is that, well, I'm here to build up young men. I'm here to turn boys into men. And even if the record doesn't show it, he can kind of spin it as, well, I'm still doing a good thing. And we all know Dion, he's never going to accept being mediocre at anything. So if the media, anybody does start coming after him, he needs that piece to fall back on of, well, what I'm really here to do is help these young men grow and develop into, NFL stars, whatever it may be. So I just don't think it's an enticing offer for him. I mean, he's definitely not going to do it for his bank account. He's set up just fine.
Yeah.
And I mean, unless the Cowboys draft Shedeur and Shiloh, which Shiloh's not going to be drafted otherwise, I just don't see it.
Yeah, that's like a Bronny James situation where it's that guy, if it wasn't for his name, he wouldn't even be
I think he's decent, but I don't think I agree with you. I don't think he's NFL quality, but he might.
Oh, you're talking about Shiloh?
Yeah, he might end up in the NFL. But.
Look, man, I'm still just sitting here saying, is Colorado even good? Like, who have they beaten this year? They got blown out by Nebraska. They have another loss. Who's their second? Or they lost to who's the Big 12 team they lost to? I can't remember now. Anyway, they got.
It wasn't Oklahoma. It was.
No, they Kansas State. They got beat back by Kansas State. They have a chance at winning the Big 12 still, a very watered down Big 12. When you got BYU as your number one and you're with two losses in that conference.
They should have lost last week.
I still don't see yes, he's improved, but he's also got two of the best college player or the best college player we've seen in the past. I don't even, for my lifetime, one of the most talented guys ever in Travis Hunter. What he's doing there is so insane. So, I mean, let's see how Dion does without those guys next year before we crown him again. So, like I said, I don't know. That body of work to me isn't that impressive.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. I think, it's just not an enticing job for him. And Jerry would have to do a lot of negotiating and a lot of enticing to get him into Dallas again.
I like what you said too, is like he's not ready to be mediocre at anything, and like the only thing he could ever do for the Cowboys is win a Super Bowl. That would be really hard for him to do. And I think if he stays I really like what you said about, hey, if it doesn't work out, he is molding these guys into good dudes, which I will give him that. Like he still is, I think, a pretty decent guy. Whereas if you have to have immediate success at the Cowboys, it's a lot of pressure, not very enticing.
Yeah.
But the Colorado Buffaloes went from nothing to primetime games, right? This guy took a university from absolutely nothing, and now they have a chance to win the Big 12 title. And they're probably going to go at least to the Big 12 title game. How much more do you want Deion Sanders to do? And then you sit over here and say, oh, well, he didn't do nothing. They didn't beat nobody. What more do you want the man to do?
Well, I mean, he's inheriting an incredible situation there with bringing over – I mean, Travis Hunter's the number one recruit, and Shedeur's extremely talented too. And, they've had a watered-down schedule. Yes, they went – one win a few years before he got there, and they had 3 wins last year.
4,
so it's an improvement. Yeah. It's an improvement. I'll give him that. But let's see, how he does over a few years. Yes, Colorado was great, but he picked a perfect situation where there's no pressure. They're in a weak conference, weak strength schedule. I bring in all these guys. Yeah, he's 6-2. That's great. Let's see how the season ends. They got a few more games left to play. If they drop one more in the Big 12, they're not making it in. They got a big game against Utah this weekend. I'll give him credit. I thought they were going to fall apart after that Nebraska game. So you're right. I mean, he's taken a tough situation and he's done fairly well. But I mean,
well, okay. So let's go this route. You said it, and I 100% agree with what you said. He got in there and he took the perfect situation, got in there at the perfect time, and molded everything and made it his. Right? Can't he do the same thing with the Dallas Cowboys next year if that's what happens?
No, because I mean, who's he going to bring in?
What's the difference?
Well, you got a guy that you got to pay $60 million to, and if he wants his son to play, and look, Travis Hunter's an incredible talent, but is he going to be able to play both sides in the NFL for how long? I mean, it sounds like Shohei Ohtani round 2 to me, where it's like, it's like, can this guy really keep doing it? Well, obviously, he still won a championship, so got to give it to him, but he didn't pitch all year. But that's a different story. But right. I don't expect Travis Hunter to be able to play both sides of the ball for his entire NFL career. But I don't, are they going to be able to sign a bunch of free agents and bring all these guys in? Like you said, Cowboy Red said earlier, there's a salary cap in football. It's going to be tough to do. I worry about who he's going to bring in around him that are going to have to be the X's and O's experts. He's going to have 2 fantastic coordinators and I don't know who's going to be out there for him to get. If he were to come in with a fantastic OC, I mean, if you gave him Steve Spagnuolo on the defensive side and Ben Johnson on the offensive coordinator side, then I would say, okay, maybe Brian wins the Super Bowl. But man, there's a lot to change over in that coaching staff, and I don't know who he'd bring in.
Okay, but this could be a perfect storm for him, right? So you trade Dak. You're going to tell me a bunch of other teams wouldn't be lining up to get Dak Prescott, even with that big contract? You
now
trade
with that
Dak,
money, they'd have to eat some money.
So he comes in, he brings in his son. His son is now the quarterback. He's the coach. And if it fails, we all just blame Jerry Jones. Deion doesn't get any of the blame because everybody's going to be like, oh, Jerry wanted to get the big strike. He wanted to get the big star, and it failed. Everybody's going to blame Jerry Jones. And even if it does fail, Deion gets to walk away and do his little dance, and he just rides off into the sunset anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you could find a team to take Dak on that contract with the guy, look, and I think Dak's showing his age this year. I'm worried about Dak because he literally threw a football and tore his hamstring. Like that's all he did in that.
Tore it off the bone.
He threw a pass and tore it off the bone. Look, I play intramural football, right? I don't even do that. All right. I've been quarterback on my intramural team and I can still throw passes out there. Look, if he's diving for the end zone, some guy crushes his knee and blows it up. That's one thing. But the guy went out and thrown a pass. What's going on, man? Now he's married. He's got a kid. He's focused on other stuff. He's getting engaged. And man, I'm worried about Dak. But I don't know if teams are going to sign that big contract with Dak. I'm not sure. And is Shedeur going to come in and really be that great of an NFL quarterback? I don't know. All things that need to be answered. I see what you're saying. Maybe it is enticing for Deion. I don't know. But I don't, from a Cowboys perspective, I think it's a bad move. The only move I think worse is signing Bill Belichick. Those 2 moves are really going to make me nervous if they go with either one of those.
I agree, and honestly, I think the biggest difference is you control a lot less as a head coach in the NFL than you do as a head coach of a college football team. There's no transfer portal in the NFL. You're not going to get all the guys you want. You can't, win guys over with anything more than the money you can give them. And I just don't see it happening for Deion in Dallas. I think, it would be a good story. It would help Jerry make some money, but I don't see the success coming from it.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have like a Hard Knocks every week. I mean, they're gonna make it's just. I know I'm being long-winded on this, but I've thought about it a lot, and it fires me up because it's just a nightmare. And the only thing that'd be interesting is. Go ahead. Sorry, no, I would say the only thing that would be interesting about it is all the people that absolutely love and adore Deion, which is the entire media, how they would treat him as a Dallas Cowboys quarterback. I would love to see that. Let me see Stephen A. laugh about Deion like he does now. So maybe the media changes to a positive tone. Like they would have to make a big change. I would love to see the media heads explode when it's like, I've loved Dion for all this time. Now I have to hate him because he's a Cowboys coach. I don't know what they would do.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, Jim, I know you guys have to go. I certainly appreciate you guys stopping in and being with us. This was a great segment here. I wish I'd have been here for the entire thing, and I'd have been jumping in and out. I heard some of it, to be honest, but I just wasn't here for all of it, and I apologize for that. The other thing that I want to say is for both of you. I know it's a day late, but Veterans Day was yesterday. I know both of you, Dallas, you serve our country right now, and Mitch and I and our entire fan base appreciate you for doing that. Reggie, I know that you have served your country in the past, and we appreciate that as well. Plug your podcast for me, gentlemen. Tell me where it's at and where we can see it and where we can find it.
Dan, thank you so much, man. Those are really nice words. We appreciate you having us on. This has been a blast. We'd love to come do it again. We are Sons of the Star. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts right now, our platforms. And then follow us on Twitter. Cowboy Reg is like the king of Twitter for us. So he's at Irish_Cowboy88. And then I'm at Sons of Star Pod. That's my Twitter handle. So you can find us over there. And we like to do live shows at least once a week and get a lot of live participation. So it's usually a fun time. So thank you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, no problem,
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you guys. Mitch, I'll let you close it out, buddy. Tell them how great they are. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, appreciate you guys jumping on. I think that was the most intrigued I've ever been to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. So yeah,
we'll definitely. All right, that's what we try to do.
maybe
we try not to be the most hateable Dallas Cowboys fans out there.
Yeah, we try to be real about it.
Yeah, actually, I think the most in touch with reality Cowboy fans I've ever spoken to. So I appreciate that as well. We'll have to have you on closer to the end of the season when we see how all this shakes out for Dallas and
oh boy, yeah,
we're gonna draft.
Yeah, I'd love to do it again. I know you guys are big baseball fans too. I love talking baseball. So
yeah,
but you guys are Reds and Brewers fans.
Yes.
Oh man.
Yeah, I've got a few. I'm pulled in a few different directions. I'm a Brewers, Tigers, Angels, D-backs kind of. I don't know. It's anybody but the Dodgers.
Okay. I'm with you there, man.
I agree.
I'm with you there.
Cool.
All right,
thanks
gentlemen,
guys.
I know you guys are going to start your podcast now. We're going to continue with ours. So I greatly appreciate you guys. Everybody who's with us right now, hang tight and then go watch their podcast in a little bit.
Yeah. We'll
right. Thank you guys so much.
Going anyways.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate you.
All right. Later, guys.
Okay. Bye.
All right.
I don't know about all that, man. That was chaotic for me. I apologize to everybody. I don't know what was going on over here. I still don't know what's going on because half the stuff around me still doesn't work. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think we held it together pretty well, but I don't know. Maybe hosting with 4 connections coming in screwed with your Wi-Fi a little more, but no, I think we rebounded well. So
already messing up on us. So okay, we're back. Good deal. Yeah. All right, buddy. So we didn't do the opening drive. Let's do the opening drive real quick. Will I give you
well, we might be losing you again there, Mike.
All right.
We got you. Man, that Wi-Fi is just not our friend today. Let's see here. What do we want to do? What can I talk about here? We'll do a monologue. Oh,
all right, there we go. Okay. All
right.
So, opening drive, right? No music, no nothing, no fanfare. I don't want to mess this up. So here we go, right?
We'll just call it opening drive of the second half. How about that?
Okay, that'll work. We've tried to make the halftime adjustments, and now we're coming back, and we're going to do this right the second time, right? Okay. Arizona State has 4 defensive touchdowns, which is the most in the Big 12. Georgia finally lost to a team not named Alabama since 2020. They finally lost to a team not named Alabama since 2020. And the third, all these are college football related. The third one, Indiana wins 10 games for the first time ever. They won their 10th game on Saturday, and it is the first time that their program has ever won 10 games. So which one you want to talk about for a moment? Arizona State and the defensive touchdowns, Georgia finally losing to a team besides Alabama, or Indiana and their 10-game winning?
I'm so sick of hearing about Georgia. I don't even want to talk about them. I'm actually the most intrigued by this Indiana football team right now. They're playing some great football, and in the Big Ten, I don't think anybody expected Indiana to be competing like they are right now, at least this season. It's really cool to see, actually, and I love that they beat Michigan for this 10th win, too. Really just piling on Michigan's season and finally burying them. Indiana is really good. I know we talked about it last week, and we talked about a lot of these same things. Georgia not being beat by anybody but Alabama. We also talked about Indiana scoring the most points in the Big Ten, and even only putting up 20 this week, they still had a really good showing against Michigan. Good for them, man. I think we said it last week. We got to start talking about, is Indiana more than just a basketball school? They might be creeping into that football school territory where they want to be. So it's been fun to watch. The Big Ten's in a really good spot right now.
Absolutely. So for those of you who are sticking with us, we certainly appreciate you. Here's what you can expect over the next probably hour or so, I guess. And I know we're probably going to go into the 2-hour time slot again. He's over here smiling already. Like I told you, did you not read my text messages? I told you, not 2 hours. Well, tough.
Let's call it 45. Let's call it 45. We'll
45. We'll try to do it in 45. So we're going to look at, is Miami in trouble with their one loss? We're going to find out if Judge and Otani will once again be the co-MLB MVPs. Who did Kirby Smart call an idiot and why? We'll talk about that. We will talk about the prospect promotion incentive and in MLB. And then somebody got fined $40,000 over the weekend. Was it deserved? We'll talk about all of those things here in just a moment. Let's jump into our college football check down. We'll go right into the Miami thing, right? So we'll put this up here. We'll show it right up on the screen. Once again, of course, you guys can all jump in with us. You just put your comments in, and we will talk to all of you. We've got several people still with us. We appreciate that. A lot of eyes on us right now. I can see it in the corner as being the host, so we appreciate you guys all sticking with us. Mitch, is Miami in trouble with one loss? They don't have a signature win. They don't have a win over a above 500 team, which actually shocked me. I couldn't believe that. So are they in trouble with one loss? And then should they make the college playoff top 12? Those are my two questions for you, buddy. Go ahead.
Yeah, I really struggled with this one because I do think they're in trouble. And for the exact reasons you just said, they really don't have an impressive win besides this last weekend against Louisville. And even that one was a shootout. They, had a really tough, or not last weekend, a few weeks ago against Louisville. That's the only real impressive win they have on the season. And it just really, 52-45, so no defense in that one whatsoever, just a shootout back and forth. But I won't say they're in trouble because I do think they're still going to be in the top 12 when all things are said and done. But to finish the season with Wake Forest and then against Syracuse, they're not doing themselves any favor with this cushy schedule. They really got to win those games and win them big to keep themselves in that top 12 and in contention for the college football playoffs. Because if they struggle against either of those teams, they're going to fall for sure.
Yeah, and this has been kind of the formula for a while for some bigger teams, right? We'll just do a really cushy schedule. We'll win all these games that we're supposed to win, and then at the end they'll let us in. Well, they ran into the problem last week where they lost to one of these cushy teams, and I really think if that's the way you're going to design your schedule, we can talk about all these other teams who have played each other. Whether it be Big 10 teams, Big 12 teams. Especially the SEC teams, they have at least lost to each other, and they're fighting every Saturday, right? Miami is not. Miami just comes to the field, throws it around, stomps on somebody, and leaves. So when they get stomped, I think they're done, and I think they should be done. They knew this when they created this schedule, and if you're going to do that, and then you turn around and lose one, well, it's one and done. It's over. And I do not think they should be in the top 12. So Georgia coach Kirby Smart called his safety, quote unquote, an idiot for celebrating with Ole Miss fans after Ole Miss beat Georgia on Saturday. Well, it turns out he was celebrating with some old high school friends. I forgot to write the kid's name down. If you've got it right there, great. If not, it's not a huge deal. But I can't remember the safety's name. So I've got 3 questions for you as kind of a follow-up here, Mitch. Would you be mad if you were Kirby Smart?
Yeah, it's Jake Pope is the safety's name.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, buddy.
Would I be mad? To be honest, no, I don't think I would. I think it's misplaced anger. I think Georgia, if you want to be mad at anybody, you're probably mad at Carson Beck for how he played in that game and in that
there
loss. I think, it's misplaced anger. Knowing the full story and kind of the background of it, I'm not blaming the guy for being mad about the loss, but to kind of deflect and take shots at other players that the loss probably wasn't more on than Carson Beck throwing an interception, getting sacked 5 times, and only getting 186 yards for the game. Sure, you could be mad at all that, but it seems like misplaced anger to be coming after a safety who's just trying to, reconnecting with a buddy and enjoying his time.
Right. I supervise people for a living. You supervise people for a living, and I'm the old guy here, so I'm above 50, right? So I can tell you that earlier in my supervisory career, I would jump to a lot of conclusions, right? I would allow my temper to get in the way, and I would get upset, and I would be mad. I've kind of learned to ask questions before I jump to conclusions now. And I think that's what Kirby Smart should have done, was asked a few questions before he jumped to some conclusions and then opened his mouth in front of the media, right? So do you think he went too far by calling him an idiot?
Oh, I definitely think he went too far. I think, you want to have a conversation with Jake behind closed doors afterwards. I think that's totally fine. You say, hey, we can't have you out there, the media clipping you having a grand old time after our first loss of the season. That could be devastating. I mean, they fell out of the top 10 because of this.
Right.
So it's a really bad look for them. But he's calling Jake Pope an idiot for celebrating with his buddy. Sure, it's after a loss. But you know who he's not calling idiots? The countless guys on the Georgia football team that get caught for reckless driving, DUIs, crashing cars into poles, going 150 miles an hour down a street. He's not calling any of those guys idiots. He's calling a guy that was having a good time after a game and somebody caught it on camera. I mean, they just completely out of touch with who you should be calling an idiot, if anybody on your team. It just blew my mind that he has such a strong reaction to this when so many things happen on that Georgia football team off the field that he doesn't call them idiots in the media for.
Right. I take it you couldn't hear the cheer that I did for you, right?
No. But
I don't know why the sound bar is. You've been seeing me over here doing this. I'm like, I want to hit the cheer button and just cheer for you because I agree with you 110%. If you want to be mad at somebody, be mad at those guys, right? This guy he wasn't doing anything wrong. He wasn't trying to do anything disrespectful. I mean, calm down, coach. I know you just lost a game, and I know you're upset about it, but it doesn't help you any when you berate one of your players. So then the last question was, is his reason legitimate? And you're going to say no, right?
Yeah, no way. No, I think it's again misplaced anger. I mean, if I would support him calling probably 99% of his players an idiot for what they do off the field, but this was just not in that same realm at all.
Okay, so this is the $40,000 question right here, right? We teased this earlier in the show. Utah Athletic Director Mark Harlan, I believe is how you pronounce his name, was fined $40,000 on Sunday after he made very targeted comments toward the officiating crew after his team lost on Saturday. Now, I don't know if you have seen the footage or not, to where he really felt as though that game was stolen from them. That's what he said. Cowboy Reggie mentioned it when we were talking to the gentleman from Sons of Star podcast, which, by the way, great show. You guys get a chance to go over and see it. They're on live right now. I'm sorry, they're on live right now, and you can go over there and take a look at it once we're done here. I'm going to do that, so I'm just letting you know. I'm going to go over and watch it here in just a little bit. So he went all crazy. I got some questions here because this is an interesting topic to discuss because he's an athletic director. He's not a coach. He's not a coordinator. He's not a player. So do you have a problem with the athletic director confronting the official? Because in the press release, it said that the Big 12 saw him confronting the official on the field after the game. That's the first question. Do you have a problem with him confronting the official?
No, you know what? I actually don't have a problem with confronting the official if you're the AD there. You have a huge rooting interest in these games and in the officiating and for it to be up to par. Honestly, I think that game was officiated so bad that both teams were so upset. You even see the winning coach going up to the officials after the game and kind of tearing into them. You don't see that when officiating is bad one-sided. That's a true sign of officiating being bad both sides and for the entire game. That's not just a few plays. It really was really poor officiating. I actually have no problem with it confronting the officials part of it. I think you're within your rights. I mean, you want your voice heard, and I think we see it at the NFL level too. Whether it's players, coaches, whoever, they're going up to the officials and they're making their cases. Now, if you're going up to the official and you're not really like calling out a specific play or a specific call that they made, you're just going up to them and telling them they suck and they should be embarrassed. That's probably not very productive, but that's, again, another question then.
Right. So before we talk about do you have a problem with what he said in this press conference remarks, let me read you what he actually said in the press conference, because I don't think I sent you this email like I said I was going to. I apologize. So let me read it to you here. It says, "This game was absolutely stolen from us. We were excited about being in the Big 12, but tonight I am not. We won this game. Someone else stole it from us. Very disappointed." And he goes on to say, "I will talk to the commissioner. This was not fair to our team. I'm disgusted by the professionalism of the officiating crew tonight." Do you have a problem with those words that he said? I mean, I don't know if you saw the press conference. Like, he basically pushed everybody out of the way, and he was like, "I'm the athletic director. I got something to say." And he went up and snatched the mic and said what I just read. Never seen anything like that in my life on a press conference. So, I mean, I was watching it live and staring at it like with 50-cent piece eyes, going, "Oh my gosh, this guy's going to get himself in trouble." So what do you think? And would you have had enough guts to do that if you thought that the game was stolen from you as being the athletic director for those kids.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think a lot of people have seen it. I know I've seen a few reporters come out and say I've never seen an AD come up and take the stand, regardless whether good or bad. And to go up there and say that, I think that really shocked a lot of people. Again, I don't really have a problem with it. I mean, he knew a fine was coming. He knew what he was going up there to say was going to get fined, and they're fine paying it. I mean, 40,000, that's nothing to laugh at. But I mean, if he feels that strongly about it, I actually like him showing that passion, and getting up there and trying to defend his team in his university. I'm actually in support of it. I think, it's one thing if coaches and players do it, because they're always going to do it. That could be from one call in a game. When it's this bad of officiating on both sides that even ADs are feeling the need to take it upon themselves and go up there and do it, I support it, because I really think that, officiating should be able to be criticized, and I have no problem with it whatsoever. I like the passion he brought.
I love the passion that he brought. I'm 100% with you. I also have to say that I don't think that officials should decide the game, right? There should not be. They're there to keep the law, basically, right? They're there to make sure that you don't break the penalty rules and all that kind of thing. But they shouldn't be the reason why a team wins or loses the game. So I also want to jump to his apology, because I want to ask you, was his apology necessary? And was it enough? Let me read you his apology as well. He said, "Last night, following our game against BYU, I made clear my feelings related to the game officiating." I love how he started out this sort of apology, right? So he says, "However, I recognize that there are more appropriate times and avenues to express those concerns, and I accept the consequences for my decision." He didn't say he thought they were wrong. He's just saying he accepts them, right? My comments came after having just left our locker room where our student athletes were hurting and upset. The University of Utah is proud to be a member of the Big 12 Conference, and we look forward to working with our peers to continue to enhance the league. BYU coach and their coaches and student athletes are having a terrific season, and we wish them the very best. So he backtracked a little bit at the end by saying, yeah, we want to be in the Big 12. Please don't kick us out of the Big 12, right? And then he also took the time, and I think he did it really well. He also took the time to say, hey, that other team across the way is still a good team. So I personally, I really like how this was, because, as I said, he didn't say he was wrong. He just says, I'll take the actions. And I've said this all the time, right? Again, both of us are in management in both of our positions. I will say and do what I want, and I'll take the consequences. But 9 times out of 10, I will fall on that sword if I feel as though I need to. And I think that's what he did here, and I respect him for it 100%. Go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm right there with you. I think he did it perfectly. He did what he needed to do. I do think he needed to make the apology, or kind of acknowledge that, his comments about the Big 12 were not good, in the sense that, you don't want to be smack talking the conference that you just joined and get removed, because a lot of teams want to be in the Big 12, and they would not have a hard time filling that spot if they kicked Utah out to the curb. And I also think that, he did well acknowledging BYU. They're a great football team. And he didn't backtrack saying that he regrets anything or that he thinks the officiating was good. He kind of skirted around that and yes, didn't say I take back what I said. Mm-hmm. So he's not doubling down, but he's not backtracking in that sense. And I think that's why it was perfect. I think, he acknowledged what he needed to, and now both sides can move on.
So the last 2 coaches in the Big 12 that did anything wrong, that did anything against the officials, that did anything against the conference, they were each fined $25,000 apiece. And then all of a sudden, this athletic director, for saying his piece, was fined $40,000. So how do you feel about the penalty from the Big 12, and do you think it was justified?
Honestly, I think the reason for the difference is because it comes from the athletic director, and especially the comments not only about the officiating, but that piece about we were excited to be in the Big 12 and tonight we're not. I think that's really where it comes from. The you're always going to get teams bashing the officiating no matter what. It could be 99 calls out of the 100 calls in the game are perfect, and then there's one bad call. You're always going to get somebody calling out officiating. It's not always, and it's very rarely going to be the athletic director of the school. And I think that's really where we see this fine get bumped up to the 40,000 instead of the 25. And then that last piece about, kind of taking a jab at the Big 12. I think that's why we see the difference. I wouldn't say it's necessarily wrong in the Big 12, but it is a little steep. Just because it's the athletic director, does it really make a difference? If it's the head coach saying that, do we still think it's 40,000? I think that's an interesting question too.
Right. All right. So, are you prepared to do the? Again, for those of you who are just joining in with us, and we're really close to 50 people being here with us live right at the moment. I have a great audience tonight, and we certainly appreciate that. You can click on the comments, and you can be part of the show. Any of you can, just as long as you stick with the topics that we're on right at the moment. We'll put you up on the screen. So, are you ready to do your? Who would you put your money on? All those 3 or 4 things that I put out there.
If you remind me, hold on, let me pull it up here. Yeah,
we're gonna skip over the NBA stuff. It's on the same paper as the NBA stuff.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Let's see here.
All right. So while you're looking at that, we got one more question for college football. That's why I kind of gave you the avenue to look ahead while I'm going to talk for a second. And so Colorado. We talked about Deion Sanders in our Dallas Cowboys segment here earlier, and we got everybody all riled up, or, somebody on this panel got everybody all riled up about Deion Sanders coming to the Dallas Cowboys and being the next head coach. I still think it's going to happen. We'll see how it all pans out. I know not everybody agrees with me, but hey, that's what this is, we love to give our opinions, and as long as we don't start smacking each other on screen, I think we're okay. So Colorado has only one Big 12 loss this season. BYU has no losses this season. So if they both win out, they will more than likely play in the Big 12 conference title game. So here are the questions here, and I'll answer first, and then I'll turn it over to you, give you a few more seconds to look up what you need to look up there, buddy. So is Deion Sanders getting enough love? That was my first question. And kind of from what we were talking about with Cowboy Reggie and with Dallas earlier from Sons of Star podcast, I don't think he is. The Dallas basically was like, oh, he's not beat anybody. He's not done nothing. I respectfully disagree with Dallas's opinion. They went from 1 or 2 wins 2 years ago to now they are looking at possibly being in the Big 12 title game. Now let's not put the cart before the horse, right? It's not happened yet. So let's tamper our expectations back at least a little bit. But what he has done in 2 short years, and you said it best, I believe so too, when we were all talking earlier. Deion Sanders is a molder of boys into men, right? And I think that might be the only thing that keeps him out of the NFL. Is he has to look at that and go, wow, I'm really good at this, right? I mean, there are some people who do these podcasts and they're like, wow, I'm really good at this. And then there are people like me who are like, man, how do I keep screwing this up? So, but when Deion looks at himself and he looks at what he's done in Colorado, he's got to be able to look back at it and go, wow, yeah, I affected some young men's lives and we made ourselves into a really good football team. So that's my question for you, Mitch. Is Deion Sanders getting enough love?
Yeah, actually, I think he is. And I think in the media, people are kind of giving him more love than we did at the beginning of the show. And I think it can kind of go both ways because I really do think, he is in the perfect situation at Colorado right now. And he's crafted the perfect situation for himself, really, both at Jackson State and in Colorado. I think he's getting a lot of love, as he rightfully should. He really turned this team around, even compared to last year. And the state of college football really helps him do that. But I think that Deion Sanders is easy to love. He's easy to love, and he's easy to hate too.
That's cool.
So I think he is getting the love. I think it's just kind of balanced out by that side of like, well, he's kind of easy to hate too because of all the flash, of all the prime time, of all the talking he does. And
no, wait. You have to say it right. You have to say prime time. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. I mean, prime time is going to prime time.
That's right. That's it.
He is who he is. And you love him or hate him for it. So I do think he gets the love he deserves, and especially this season with where he's got Colorado right now. I think it's just kind of balanced out by that other half of those guys that are always going to hate no matter what.
Okay. So are the Buffalo players getting enough respect for what they have done over the past couple of years?
I actually think they're getting less respect than they should. I think a lot of it is going on to Deion. And I mean, that offensive line, you can take them out of this because they shouldn't be getting the respect that the rest of that team should. But I mean, Travis Hunter, even Shedeur, Shedeur can look bad at times. I think it's definitely kind of added on from the offensive line play when Shedeur does look bad. But Travis Hunter, I mean, he's kind of said it too. To me, he's the Heisman. I mean, nobody else is playing the way Travis Hunter does. And both sides of the ball, he's the best wide receiver in college football and one of the best cornerbacks in college football. So I really don't think that enough of the respect is going to the players because they're the ones out there playing the games. But I think that's just kind of what you're going to get when you have Deion, as your head coach.
Right. I agree with that. So does what they're doing make Travis Hunter the main event for the Heisman Trophy right now? Is the success that Coach Prime is having and the success that the team is having, does that give Travis Hunter that much more momentum in his march toward the Heisman Trophy?
I really think it does. I think in a normal college football season, it's really not even a debate. I think Ashton Genty from Boise State is making it a conversation just with what he's done, and he's cooled off the last few weeks. So it's kind of the gap is widening there, in my opinion. But I think if it's a normal college football season, this really isn't a debate, and Travis Hunter is running away with the Heisman. I think a lot of it, he's missed 2 games this season, so that hurts him. But I think if you're evaluating what Travis Hunter does on the football field when he is out there and not injured, there really is no debate between who should be the Heisman in my eyes.
All right. So let's go back for a second. Let me give you the second part of our opening drive. This is going to do everything NFL. All right. 3 questions for the opening drive, all 3 NFL related. A couple of these are just mind-boggling to me. Well, we'll see which one you want to talk about here. This will be interesting. Russell Wilson is currently 2 touchdowns away from having the most touchdowns in the season since Ben Roethlisberger retired, and he's done this in just 3 games. That's just wild to me. Secondly, Jamar Chase has 10 receiving touchdowns this year, which is more than 21 teams' total receivers have. That's insane. The man is doing better than 21 different teams. And lastly, when scoring 33 points or more, the NFL is 38-1. But when the Bengals score 38 points or more, they are 2-3. Which one of those 3 things having to do with the NFL? The record when you score 33 points or more, Jamar Chase and his receiving touchdowns, or Russell Wilson and his tossing of the touchdowns? Which one you want to talk about, Mitch?
Man, I think I'm going to upset you not picking anything Bengals related here, but I saw that stat about Russell Wilson, and it kind of blew my mind, and it really shed light on how impressive Mike Tomlin is in my eyes. To do what he's done the last few seasons since Ben Roethlisberger has left Pittsburgh, and to still never have a losing season is absolutely even more credit to what Mike Tomlin has done and who he is as a coach and what he gets out of his players. To put it in that perspective, I mean, Russell Wilson has played 3 games now, and he's about to have the most passing touchdowns since Ben Roethlisberger. That's just insane.
Tells you how terrible the quarterback play has been since Ben Roethlisberger, right?
Exactly, and to still have winning or 500 records in those seasons is a huge kind of emblem for that defense in Mike Tomlin.
All right, so we are going to do a new segment. We're going to do gambling a little bit different today, and we're going to do who would you put your money on? But before we do that, I want to do something special for Mitch here. I was going to hopefully have everything all hooked up, and I had this thing ready to go. We're going to find out if it's still going to sound good, and I'm going to look at you for the first few seconds, and if it doesn't, just give me the throat slash thing, and we'll stop it, all right? Because I don't it's going to be 2 minutes and 2 seconds, okay? But man, Detroit. The Detroit Lions. What in the world happened there? The man throws 5 interceptions, and they still win. Right? I think the Detroit Lions have come of age, and I think the Detroit Lions are a team to be reckoned with, and I think they proved it on Sunday night. Let me give you, if you've not heard it yet, just pay close attention. This is good, and it's all beeped out. I went through and beeped all the naughty words out. All right. So this is from Adam Schefter off of his Twitter account. This is the speech after the game given by your coach, Dan Campbell. Here we go.
Oh, my God.
Can you turn it up a little?
Defense, that was outstanding, man. That was outstanding.
Better? Okay.
We knew it's just a matter of time. Offense, we get our points, man. Bates, that was freaking ginormous. And I just say this again. This is what great teams do. This is what great teams do. Even when you're having an off day, you find a way, man. You freaking find a way and you will it to happen. That's what you did today. That's what you did. I got 3 game balls. All right? I'm going to start here. All right? This guy is from here. All right? This guy's from here. No points in the second half. 2 takeaways. He is the defensive coordinator. I love this team. Defense, 4 tackles, 2 picks.
I just want to say one thing, man. I swear to God, every game I'm coming out here and giving y'all my best, man. I don't know what's going on. Whether we down or we up, y'all got me.
Last but not least, 2 field goals, one on 58 yards. The other one a game winner, 52 yards, 2 extra points. Mr. Bates.
Hey, good win. Shout out my boys, Jack and Hogan, man. I love you guys, and man, I'm just so happy to be a part of that operation. Love you guys.
Break it down, man.
Hey, if that ain't a lesson, it ain't over till it's over. That's what it is, boys. Win a fight all day. We're different. We're different than all 31 in this league, all right? Win a go. Win on 3. 1, 2, 3. Boom.
And if that doesn't fire you up for this segment, for you to be able to show us all your gambling stuff, I don't know what can, man. Dan Campbell, I tell you what, he has quickly become one of my favorite coaches in the league. I'll let you go, man. Give me about 30 seconds of how were you impressed with your team, the Detroit Lions, over the weekend, buddy?
I mean, how can you not love this team? I mean, that win almost brought a tear to my eyes because For so long, we've seen the Detroit Lions lose games that they should win. And this is the first time in my entire life that I've seen them win a game that they should lose. You cannot understate how impressive of a win this was for them in this defense. To hold a really good Texas team scoreless in the second half, to come back through all the adversity. Jared Goff, sure, you'll see the 5 interceptions and would think, oh, he had a terrible game. He really didn't. 2 deflected passes, 1 pick on a Hail Mary that didn't mean anything. Just a grit and a fight to this team I've never seen before. To come back and win that game was just insane. To be honest with you, I lost faith, and I said, you know what, 7-2 is fine. We can have an off night. This will teach them. It taught them even more and showed that they can come back from adversity, which is exactly what they couldn't do in that NFC Championship game last year. I couldn't be more impressed with the Lions. Man, I love this team so much. You hear in that post game breakdown between the guys. I mean, this is a team. This is a true team that wants to go out there and play for each other and win for each other. They've all bought into Dan Campbell exactly the way they need to, and it really is a brotherhood. It's awesome to watch this team like that.
And I'll tell you what that did. I am not a fan of the Lions per se, right? I'm still a fan of sports, still a fan of baseball, a fan of football. I watch a lot. What that did for me was that I can't wait. I really, really hope that it's Kansas City and Detroit. That's what I'm hoping for right now. Detroit has now become the ultimate underdog. That's what that game did. As a fan from the outside that doesn't really have a rooting interest is watching that, right? And as I hear that from Dan Campbell in the locker room, right, I'm like, oh, here we go. I am going to get behind this team. Man, I can't wait to see one of these guys on the Detroit team just smash somebody else on the field, right? And that's what they are, man. Blue collar, smash mouth, let's go. All right, So hopefully that's got y'all fired up here. And we're going to do our new segment, Who Would You Put Your Money On? Of course, this is Moneybags, Mitch Middlebrook, and we're going to do 2 football ones first. Then we're going to do a college football, and then we're going to go with the baseball one at the end, and then jump right into our baseball conversation where we talk about all the awards that were just announced 2 days ago, and we're going to give you, the fans of the Sportz Truth, our predictions on exactly who's going to win those awards. Mitch, where can they find you at on Twitter before you begin this segment that shines down on that stash?
Yeah, you'll find me at Mitchellbrook52 on Twitter. If you do follow any of these bets, I'd appreciate a shout out on Twitter to let me know, hey, I won some money, or hey, I lost some money. But don't come asking me to recoup your losses. Hopefully you only make these winning bets. But yeah, if we want to start it off with our first NFL question of what team I'm putting my money on to be the last playoff team in the AFC.
Yep.
And if we're deciding between the Colts, the Broncos, and the Cincinnati Bengals, I think I'm going to surprise some people here, and I'm actually going to put my money on the Denver Broncos. And it's not only because of how they played the Chiefs this weekend and should have won that game and given the Chiefs their first loss. The Broncos have really impressed me, and I don't think they've played their best football yet this season. And to essentially beat the Chiefs team besides a fluke, blocked field goal to end it, where, that guy on special teams just has been getting beat all season. You get that guy out of there and you replace him with probably anybody. Replace him with a wet stick. I don't know. Somebody that might actually trip a guy going through instead of just getting pushed over every time. I think the Denver Broncos are going to sneak into that last AFC playoff spot. And they're at 185, plus 185 to make the playoffs right now. That gives you some good value too. I don't think the Colts are going to do it. There's too much up in the air with Anthony Richardson and Joe Flacco, kind of what they're doing there. I think it's going to be really a two-team battle between the Bengals and the Broncos. The Bengals are at plus 130 to make the playoffs right now, and that's just not enough plus behind it for me.
Okay.
I think, this loss really hurt the Bengals and their playoff chances. I think they're the best team out of these three teams, definitely. But I think when, that stat that in our opening drive, when you're scoring that many points and you still can't come away with wins, it's really hard on your team. It's hard on your offense and it's hard on your defense. So I think they have a lot to figure out. I could easily see them squeaking in and being that last team there too. But if I'm putting my money on them, I'm putting it on the Denver Broncos because of that bigger plus there that you get your money back.
All right. So what about the Colts? You didn't mention the Colts and how much their plus is. Let's give our fans the option.
Yeah, they're plus 250. So if you believe in the Colts, that's your best moneymaker right there. But yeah, again, I just don't see it as realistic of a chance as the other two. But that's definitely, if you do believe in them, that's where you make your money here.
The only thing that I will add to this, and I'm a little bit of I'm not a little bit, I'm a lot of bit of a homer because it's my Bengals we're talking about here. But I do believe they have a really easy schedule for the rest of the way. Chargers this Sunday, and then they got their bye week. They play. I know they play Pittsburgh twice, but the rest of their games are not real competitive. So that's why I would kind of give the edge to the Bengals. But again, this is not my segment. I'm not the gambling guy. I'm not the money man. I'm not Mr. Money Bags over here. So I'll leave that to Mitch Middlebrook, buddy. All right. So who would you put your money on? Will the Buffalo Bills beat Taylor's team? I had to take this one because I wanted to say Taylor's team. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm putting my money on the Bills, not only because it's a home game, but because the Chiefs they should not be undefeated here. The Chiefs have not blown anybody out, and they've won a lot of one-score games, and they've gotten a lot of help from their opponents. I don't think the Bills are going to give them any help, and I think the Bills are going to take this chance after so many years of contentious games and close games against the Chiefs. They're really going to bury them. And I think the Chiefs are going to get their first loss in Buffalo this weekend. The Bills are minus 130, so it's a close game. The spread is 2.5 right now. So they do think it's going to be within a field goal, but I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills. The Chiefs, actually their first time being underdogs this season at plus 110. But I don't even care if it's a minus sign. I'm taking the Bills because I think it's going to be a lot bigger of a win than Vegas is predicting right now.
All right, so you're taking the Bills over the Chiefs on that is the Sunday. It's the Sunday later Sunday game. It's like the 4:00 games. It's not the Sunday night game because that's the Chargers and the Bengals, but it's in the late window of those Sunday games. Now, we're going to look at the big college game over the weekend, buddy. Georgia or Tennessee? Who would you put your money on?
Unfortunately, as much as I don't like it, I do think Georgia is going to bounce back this week. So I'm putting my money on Georgia here. They're heavily favored. It's minus 375, but I don't give Tennessee a chance. I really think that Georgia is going to come back out and be fired up after this loss. And I think we'll see Georgia play a lot better than they have been, not only this last week, but in previous weeks. So Georgia minus 375. Vegas has the point total at 10. And Tennessee at plus 295. So if you think Georgia's going to keep slipping, that Tennessee is a good money line at plus 295. But I just don't see Georgia losing back-to-back games.
I'm going to go the opposite way here because I think Tennessee smells blood in the water, right? I think Tennessee thinks, hey, I'm going to come in there and we're going to beat Georgia and we're going to knock them out of the 12-team playoff. And if they do, if Tennessee comes in and beats Georgia, Georgia's done. They are not going to make the top 12. They're not going to be in that playoff scenario. And even if Tennessee doesn't win a national title, they can hang their hat on, we were the team that knocked out the Georgia Bulldogs. So Based on that alone, I haven't looked at stats. I haven't looked at anything else. I'm just going off the blood in the water thing, and I would personally take Tennessee. But again, not my segment, not my show. Mitch would put his money on Georgia. Last one, baseball. And then we're going to jump into our MLB talk to end the show. Thank you guys for sticking around with us. Most of you have, and we love you for it. Who is going to sign Juan Soto? Give us the 4 teams that Vegas is saying. Well, I don't know. You give us however many teams you want, buddy. This is your segment. You do what you want, but just let me know, who would you put your money on?
So we don't get any help from Vegas here. They don't take bets on this stuff, but I'll give you my 4 teams, and I'd be interested to see who your 4 teams are. Mine are going to be the Mets, Yankees, Dodgers, and I'll throw in maybe one that people aren't expecting, but a former team of Juan Soto's in the San Diego Padres. I think those are going to be my 4 teams that have the best chance of signing Juan Soto. And it's because they either have the biggest pocketbooks or they have that history with Juan Soto and might be able to entice him a little bit more. If I'm putting my money on any of these teams to sign Juan Soto, it's going to be the Mets, and it's going to be because of what Steve Cohen said, and he's putting his money where his mouth is and said no team is going to offer him a bigger contract than we have. So if it's all about the money for Juan Soto, he's going to be a New York Met if Steve Cohen is true to his word, and he truly does outpace anybody else that's offering Juan Soto these deals. So I've got Juan Soto. If I'm putting my money on anybody, it's going to be the New York Mets to sign him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even really need to give you 4 teams as far as that part goes, because I don't think there's 4 teams in this race. From everything I'm reading, from everything Juan Soto is saying, he's going to go wherever he gets the most money, and that's going to be his deciding factor. So I'm going to narrow it down to 2 teams. One team you didn't mention, and one team that you did. The team that you did mention is going to be the New York Mets, and we got to do that one because they've got money for days, and they're printing it off over there in Queens, and so I think they can offer him the most money. Now, I will give a wild card team a shot here, and it's funny because I thought you were going to go there when you were doing yours. You said a former team of Juan Soto. I thought you were going to go Washington Nationals because that's where I'm going to go. I believe that Washington's close. They're not, they're 3 or 4 players away. But when you get Juan Soto can be 2, honestly, of those 3 or 4 players away. So if they go out and they get Juan Soto, they keep the young talent, C.J. Abrams that they've got and some of the other people that's on that team, and then they go out and they get a number 1 guy. They go out and get a really good starter or maybe 2 mediocre starters. And I think that Washington can compete. And wouldn't that be interesting if Washington would come in, outbid the New York Mets, or they would convince him somehow to do it? And then, of course, they're all in the same division, and you would have Atlanta, the Mets, and let's see, hang on, the Phillies. There we go. There's the other team. All 4 of those teams in that division could all of a sudden be really good and just be like a heavyweight boxing match and just beat the living tar out of each other every time they see each other. So that would be good for baseball, I think. And we're going to talk next week about what wouldn't be good for baseball, and that would be, can Major League Baseball allow Shohei to go to the Dodgers last year and then Juan Soto in a big money contract to go to the Dodgers this year? I know we said it on last week's show that we were going to talk about it, but I forgot about these races. I want to make sure we get them in, and then we will, I promise, we'll talk about that next week, and we'll get each other's opinions. The MVP race, the AL MVP is Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, and Bobby Witt Jr. Give us your pick, buddy. Who you think is going to win the American League MVP between Judge, Soto, and Witt?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's going to be Aaron Judge that wins the MVP. If I'm voting Bobby Witt Jr., and I bet you're probably right on board with me. I know you've been on the Witt train all season.
Yes.
And honestly, I think what it comes down to is this is the best season we've seen from a shortstop, maybe in my lifetime, maybe ever. And I honestly think that Bobby Witt Jr. is one of the top 3, if not the most well-rounded player in Major League Baseball. He's got all 5 tools. He's got everything you want from him. I really think that Bobby Witt Jr. doesn't get enough respect, and that's saying a lot when you're an AL MVP finalist. But I really don't think that people are giving him a legitimate chance to win the MVP because you have the 2 Yankees, Judge and Soto. But if I'm a voter, I'm taking Bobby Witt Jr. all day.
I'm with you. You mentioned it. I've been on the Bobby Witt Jr. train all season long, 100%. I do believe he is the best player. And then this is most valuable player, right? When you have 2 players from the same team that become most valuable player, I'm hoping they cancel each other out and Bobby Witt Jr. wins by default. That's what I'm hoping for, because I don't understand how you can give it to Judge when Juan Soto is the other half of the MVP conversation. That means the 2 of them together are the MVPs of that team and not one of them or the other one, when there is no one else on the Kansas City Royals that gives them near as much as what Bobby Witt Jr. does. He is truly the MVP of that team. The National League is a little bit more, well, let's just give you the 3 names and we'll go from there, all right? So National League is Francisco Lindor, shortstop for the New York Mets, Ketel Marte, second baseman, Arizona Diamondbacks, and Shohei Ohtani. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I mean, can we skip over this one, because I think it is going to be Shohei. I think, the race between Lindor and Marte is a lot closer than it is either of them to Ohtani. I mean, the writers have been making this narrative since day one of the season. We're now through the season. Shohei Ohtani is a World Series champion. He's going to be crowned the NL MVP. But there's really not much more to say. I mean, it is what it is. He didn't play the field at all. He didn't pitch this season. He just went up there and swung the bat. Is that really your most valuable player if the guy's only going up there 4 times a game on average and swinging the bat? I mean, I think no matter what he does at the plate, you got to value that a lot less than you would of a guy going out there playing a great shortstop, playing a great second base like Lindor and Marte did this year. So I think Ohtani's going to win the award, but I think it's just, it doesn't get anybody excited anymore seeing a DH win the award.
Ohtani's going to win the award because that's what baseball wants. Ohtani's going to win the award because that's what the LA Dodgers want, and they have a lot of influence on Major League Baseball. But should he win the award? No, he should not. I have been off, just like I've been on the Bobby Witt train, I have been throwing stuff on the tracks of the Shohei Ohtani train all season long. I don't like how he skated out of this gambling thing in the beginning. Nobody talks about it anymore. It's just all of a sudden it's gone, right? I don't like the fact that he is only playing one side of the field, and he's still up for this award. I don't like the fact that he is obviously not even the MVP of that team. In my opinion, Freddie Freeman is the MVP of that team, not Shohei Ohtani. But this is what baseball wants, and this is what baseball is going to get. If I were voting, I would love to say I'm going to vote for Ketel Marte because he is on the Arizona Diamondbacks, a team that I follow and love, but they didn't make the playoffs. So he's third for me. And I would put Shohei at second, and I would put Francisco Lindor at first because of what he did to kind of will that team. He is the MVP of the team. You might be able to say that Alonso would be, but I don't think so. Lindor is the heart and soul of that team. And I tell you, the moment that I knew it was when he smacked that home run to beat your Milwaukee Brewers, and he didn't do a fanfare. He didn't flip the bat. He didn't point to himself. He didn't yell at his dugout. He dropped the bat and walked to first base. He says, I've been here before, and I'll carry you guys on my back. And that's why I want Francisco Lindor to win, even though I know he's not going to.
Yeah, I agree. MVP on the field for that team and in the clubhouse. That's a really good example for the rest of those guys. And I think that's probably what the rest of those guys are missing, both in the NL and or you know what, I won't even consider the AL. Judge and Soto I probably will, but I can't put Witt in that. I think he is the MVP on and off the field. But I agree, Lindor there. I think, the last thing I'll say on Ohtani, that 50-50 season really handcuffs Major League Baseball because it's never been done before. I think that makes it really hard for them to say. But, I mean, like you said, nobody talks about the $16 million that Shohei Ohtani almost certainly was gambling on professional sports, because it's either that or he's an absolute idiot that got $16 million stolen by his interpreter, which I just don't think he is that much of an idiot. I don't think anyone would be. I think it's a shame he'll win, but he's definitely going to pull it out.
Right. So let's go Cy Young. So the awards we got are MVP, Cy Young, Manager of the Year, and Rookie of the Year. We'll go in that order. And then I want to talk about the prospect promotion incentive here at the end, and we'll get a good view of what it does and how it affects the salary cap and everything else and how it ties into these awards. We'll get to that here momentarily. The Cy Young in the AL is Clase, Seth Lugo, and Skubal. I pretty much know who you're going to go with because of your allegiance to a certain team. But I want to hear why you want Skubal to win.
I want Tarik Skubal to win for two reasons. One, because I called this before the season started when Tarik Skubal is at plus 3,000 odds to win the Cy Young. And that's probably the biggest regret of my life, is not putting money on him to win the Cy Young this year. Because I called it out, I gave it away on the show, and I made the cardinal mistake of not taking it and not putting my money where my mouth is. Skubal was the heart and soul of that team. I think the closest thing, the MVP of the Detroit Tigers probably was in consideration for an AL MVP finalist if these other three guys didn't have the seasons they did. Tarik Skubal was the reason that the Tigers made the run they did, because every fourth and fifth day, they knew he could go out there and get them a win and hold that other team to either scoreless or 2 runs max. Tarik Skubal had an amazing year. I loved watching him pitch, and not just the results of him pitching, but how he did it. He goes up there, he's a quick worker, he's all business. He turns it up when he needs to. He's hitting 100 miles an hour on his 100th pitch, ramping up in those big spots, and exactly what you want out of your ace. He is a true Cy Young.
All right. This one's hard for me because I like your guy, but I like Clase better. Clase dominated. Skubal didn't dominate. He came close. Don't get me wrong. Great pitcher. I would love to have him on my team, but he didn't dominate like Clase did. When Clase is one of the few players, except in the playoffs, and I think this might be what knocks him out, because the thing that everybody's going to remember, that bad taste in your mouth, sort of say, is how he got beat up in the playoffs. But regular season, which is what this award is for, he was the one guy who, when you're like, okay, well, here comes Clase, you're like, okay, this is over. Because he was going to come in and shut the door. I don't like the hair. I don't like some of the antics of him. But as far as pitching goes, he was the most dominant closer, and I can't say that Skubal was the most dominant starter. So I'm going to have to go with Clase. I would put Skubal second, and then I'm not even sure why Seth Lugo's in this conversation.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only reason I don't put Clase up there is he's a reliever, a one-inning guy. I'm not taking away from what he did, because he was completely dominant, and every time he went out there, you were going to win the game. But I I don't like closers when you can pick when to put them in and pick when not to, and pick who they're going to face, who they're going to be pitching against every game. I just don't like that. Tarek Skubal has to go out there and try to get 27 outs every single time he takes the mound. Class A and the Guardians get to pick and choose the 3 outs that he needs to get for him every night. And I think that's the difference maker for me.
Okay. I mean, that's fine. I understand. We can agree to disagree. It's not a problem. I still like you and your stash. We're good. All right. National League Cy Young, Chris Sale, Paul Skeens, Zach Wheeler. I'll go first here real quick. I'm not even 100% sure why Zach Wheeler's in this conversation either. And to be honest with you, I'm not even sure why Paul Skeens is in this conversation. He didn't do enough. If Skubal only pitched half the year and then you're trying to sell me on how Skubal should be the Cy Young, I'm going to tear you apart. But for some reason, Paul Skeens only pitched roughly half the year, and he's in this conversation in the National League. I don't buy it. I don't like it. I believe this is a runaway for Chris Sale, and he will get this award this year.
I agree. And not only because of Skeens coming in and pitching half the year, but it's the way he did it too. They had him on such a short lease. There were how many outings that Paul Skeens went 3, 4, 5 innings and didn't even make it into the 6th inning for the Pirates. I just don't think you can put somebody like that in this conversation. I think this is an easy win for Chris Sale in the NL.
Okay, so let's just jump to Manager of the Year. We'll save a little bit of time, and we'll move to that. The AL Manager of the Year is going to be interesting because 2 of these 3 candidates are kind of neck and neck for me, and I'll be interesting to see if they're neck and neck for you as well. And then you can't sneeze on the other one because they made the playoffs too, right? So you got A.J. Hinch of the Detroit Tigers. You got Matt Quintrero, I believe is how you say his name, and then Stephen Vogt. Of course, Vogt for the Guardians, who did make the playoffs. Quintero for the Royals, who, again, did make the playoffs. And A.J. Hinch, another team that did make the playoffs. If you're going to put a gun to my head and make me choose, I'm going to go with Stephen Vogt just because I think they had a dominant, complete season. But it's honestly a splitting hairs between him and A.J. Hinch. And the other reason why I'm not going to choose A.J. Hinch is I'm going to hold something against him from a few years ago when he was with the Houston Astros. I'm still not really over that. And I think between those 2 things, it's going to give Stephen Vogt the advantage, and he's going to win Manager of the Year in the American League. Go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah, I think this is the closest race of any of the awards, and honestly, I completely understand the case for any of these guys. The Royals really outperformed where they were. I mean, we knew what they were trying to do with all the signings in the offseason and all the free agents that they brought in. I don't think anybody expected them to be competing like they did this season this early. I think they thought it was going to be a building year, get some wins and show some signs of life and not really compete the way they did. Ended up missing the playoffs, obviously, but really, really close, competed the whole way. And I think they were at least a year ahead of people where people thought they would be. Stephen Vogt impressed me so much his first year managing that team in Cleveland. And honestly, as much as I love A.J. Hinch, I didn't think this would be a debate for me at all because of my love for the Tigers and what A.J. Hinch has done for that Tigers team. I think I'm not discrediting what Stephen Vogt did at all, but I think the difference maker here for me is you look at those 2 rosters and what A.J. Hinch did with the Detroit Tigers and that young team and what Stephen Vogt did with the Cleveland Guardians. I just think it's more impressive that A.J. Hinch was able to manage that team to where they were in the postseason and even give Cleveland a run for their money. And I really just think that it's all around what he brought to the clubhouse, the life he brought to that Detroit Tigers team, and was able to will them into the playoffs, win a playoff series in his old town, in Houston, move on and take the Guardians to Game 5. I just think I was so impressed by it. I think it's got to go to A.J. Hinch. I know it's a regular season award, but still, it was too impressive to me from what AJ Hinch got out of that Tigers team that weren't supposed to be anywhere near the playoffs, even right before the All-Star break. To do what they did, I think is just too impressive to not give them it.
Okay. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit because I think that the National League Manager of the Year is closer than the American League Manager of the Year. These three guys, you got to look at each of their situations, right? Mendoza got tossed into this where it's like, okay, here's the most expensive team in baseball, and you go out there and manage all these big wigs, all these big money people, all these big egos, and you figure it out on your first year. Here you go. Have a blast. And he did. He figured it out. He got them to the playoffs. They even started off rough, and he battled that storm. He weathered that storm, and he got them into the playoffs. Pat Murphy with the Milwaukee Brewers. Okay, buddy, we're finally going to give you the reins of a baseball team, but we're going to take your number one starter away from you, and we're not really going to replace him with anybody. And then Christian Yelich is going to get hurt for half the season. And by the way, we still expect you to make the playoffs, and he did. So that was really impressive by Murphy as well. And then Schilt, you have to remember, right? The Padres were in just a mess at the beginning of the season, and nobody really knew what to expect. And he came in, righted the ship, got them on the straight and narrow, even with all the mines and all the money that's over there, because you got Manny Machado and everybody else over there, right? So he was able to right that ship and get them to the playoffs too. I'm going to make you happy here because I think Pat Murphy did the most with the least. So I'm going to give the Manager of the Year award to Murphy because, he lost his number one guy and he lost Christian Yelich for half the year, and they still made the playoffs. So I'm going to give it to Murphy, but Mendoza and especially between Murphy and Mendoza, again, you're splitting hairs there for me. And no matter which one of those win, I'm not going to be unhappy about it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only thing that I give the nod to Murphy more, because I do think he should be NL Manager of the Year, is you look at the payrolls of these teams. Sure, it's difficult to manage the egos of both the Mets and the Padres, but I'll take that job managing egos with 3 superstars on each team, on my team, and the job that Pat Murphy had this year with the Brewers, losing Corbin Burns, losing so many starters. I mean, every team has injuries, but the way he managed that bullpen and the way he didn't just take what Craig Counsell had kind of built and what the formula he had always had to win games, for Pat Murphy to make it his own and still will this team to the postseason, with really no first baseman that could hit for him all year, no real third baseman on the roster. He just really impressed me this year, so I'm going Pat Murphy as well. But yeah, it was a close one. I think the difference is just that I give Murphy a little more respect for managing a team of kind of middle of the road roster than the Mets and the Padres.
Right, he did more with less. I certainly agree. So we're going to talk about the prospect promotion incentive in a minute, and I'm going to tell you that your Brewers made a big mistake this season, and the Pittsburgh Pirates made a big mistake this season. We'll talk about that and how it all shapes into the salary cap and everything else here in just a moment to wrap up the show. First, we're going to do Rookie of the Year, AL Rookie of the Year, Colton Cowser, Luis Gil, Austin Wells. Which one you want here, if any of these guys? Because I'm kind of in the boat where it's like, I don't know if I want any of these guys.
Yeah, honestly, this is a really, really poor year for AL Rookie of the Year. I think it's going to go to Cowser, but I really wasn't impressed with any of these guys. I mean, I could see Luis Gil, but again, none of them really blew me away. I think I'd probably go Cowser, but whoever it is, I don't think it's going to be. I don't think any of these guys would win in a normal Rookie of the Year race other than this one when it's a down year.
That's a really good way of saying it. I like how you just said that. Now, you know what? You said that so well, I think I'm just going to leave it alone. We're going to move on to National League Rookie of the Year, Jackson Chourio, Jackson Merrill, Paul Skeens. Which one you want to do here? You should know who I'm going to pick. I've been on this guy's bandwagon forever.
I know, and this one hurts me. This one hurts me because I want it to be Chourio so bad. I want Jackson Chourio to win this award so bad for what he's done, the work that he put in to adjust to Major League pitching cannot be overstated. He put in so much work, and he turned his season around. He impressed me so much with the adjustments he was able to make at the plate and his defense all season. Jackson Chourio had the best rookie season I've seen from the Milwaukee Brewers ever. I think Paul Skeens is going to win it. I think he deserves it the least because I think Jackson Merrill should. I understand Jackson Merrill had an amazing season. I know I'm biased by saying Jackson Chourio. For me, it goes Merrill, Chourio, Skeens in who I think has the most right, or I guess I don't know how to say it, who's truly deserving of it.
Okay.
But I think it's going to go Skeens, Merrill, Chourio in the voting.
If Paul Skeens wins this award, there's a problem with Major League Baseball. I'm just going to say it right now, right? He did not do near what the other two guys on this list did. He was not that dominant, or even if he was dominant, he was dominant in short stints.
Yep.
It goes back to your Class A analogy, right? Well, I can pick, right? The Pirates were able to pick which opponents he pitched against. The Pirates were able to pick, I'm only going to have him pitch 4 innings this time around. He's not even going to qualify for the win. And the Pirates made a big mistake with him, and your Brewers made a big mistake with Chourio. We'll get to that here in just a minute. Jackson Merrill switched positions. Remember that? He was a shortstop, and he was a really good shortstop. But the Padres had a plethora of shortstops and still do, so they didn't have any outfielders, right? And he went out there for necessity. They basically went to him and said, hey, we have screwed this all up. We got 9 shortstops and 1 outfielder. Can you go out and play center field for us? And can you do a really good job? And by the way, can you hit really well? And can you be one of the better clutch hitters in all of baseball? Because he was, if you look up his stats. And this is the one for me that there's not even a contest on. Jackson Merrill should be there. Chourio did a lot of nice things, all right? And I'm not trying to discount him. But the reason why we look at Chourio and say, well, he did a lot of nice things is because the beginning of his season was not real great. He made some adjustments, and he ended up turning this season around. You said it as well, but Jackson Merrill was from day one, ground running, and that's why he should get this award. Let's talk about this prospect promotion incentive here real quick. Because of Bobby Witt Jr. and Jackson Merrill having top 3 finishes, their teams get an extra supplemental pick following the first round. And if you don't think that's big for their teams, you are insane. That is huge, especially for the Kansas City Royals. Maybe not so much for the Padres, but for the Royals building that farm system up. And I guess it is pretty big for the Padres because they have traded away a lot of their farm pieces in order to get the team that they have right now on their 40-man roster. So far, Julio Rodriguez, Gunnar Henderson, and Corbin Carroll have all got this award. So I'm going to stop here before I get to the mistakes that the other teams have made. And I want to ask you, Mitch, do you like how this is working out? Do you like how Major League Baseball came up with this? And this is, of course, to promote these youngsters, not keep them in the minor leagues forever and a day, not do the Chris Bryant thing, which is, wait until the day after and all that kind of stuff. We all know how that all went. When you promote them and then they end up – so the way it works is when you promote them and they end up getting a top 3 finish in their first – before they go to arbitration, so their first 3 years, if they get a top 3 finish in any of these awards that we were just rattling off, then that team gets an extra pick in that supplemental round. But it can only happen once. So now that Rodriguez has got it, if he finishes again in the AL MVP talk, he can't get a second pick for his team. You only get it once. So like I said, Rodriguez has already had it done. Henderson has. Corbin Carroll did last year with the Arizona Diamondbacks that we witnessed. And this year you got Bobby Witt Jr. and Jackson Merrill doing it. Is this plan doing what it's supposed to do and bringing these new stars up to the Major League Baseball 40-man rosters?
Yes, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. And honestly, this is the best thing Major League Baseball has done in a long, long time.
Absolutely.
It's working exactly the way it's supposed to. It's getting teams to stop doing the Chris Bryant service time manipulation bullcrap that we've seen for so long. It brings so much life to the game. I mean, just look at the list of guys we're talking about right now. Bobby Witt Jr., Jackson Merrill, Julio Rodriguez, Gunnar Henderson, Corbin Carroll, Jackson Chourio, Paul Skeens. These guys are some of the biggest names in baseball, and they wouldn't be right now, or they may not be right now, if it wasn't for this incentive, because teams would be trying to manipulate that service time, wait for their playoff window. The Pirates probably wouldn't have called Paul Skeens up this year, and who knows when we would have seen any of these guys if it weren't for this incentive, because now there's an incentive equally to bring them up and get this compensation pick. And it's done exactly what MLB wanted it to. I'm honestly tipping my cap to them, because there's not many times that we can say MLB did this right and it's working the way they wanted it to, but this is definitely one.
And I want to make sure that I hit this part too. I'm gonna. Your Brewers were not very smart with this, and the Pittsburgh Pirates were not very smart with this. So those two, Paul Skeens is not eligible for this ever, and Jackson Chourio is not eligible for this ever. And let me explain to you why. So Paul Skeens didn't get called up soon enough. He was in that crazy window, right? So now he's going to have too much time for next year, not enough time for this year. He is never going to be able to get this award for his team. The Pittsburgh Pirates just absolutely dropped the ball on this. Stupid. I don't know why they did this. We said this when he got called up. It's like, why? Why are you doing it now? You should have done it in the beginning of the year, or you should have not done it and waited. Honestly, I would have not done it and waited. It's not like the Pirates. We're gonna do much of anything this year anyway. So I don't understand why they did it. It doesn't make any sense to me. And their fan base should be just throwing stuff, like fans at a college football game onto the field, right? So then the second thing is your Milwaukee Brewers didn't do this very well either. Now, I didn't know this rule until I really got to looking, and I wonder if the people in the Milwaukee Brewers organization didn't know this rule either. Not that I'm trying to say I'm smarter than the Milwaukee Brewers, but because Jackson Chourio signed an extension before his MLB debut, he is not eligible for this award. All they had to do was wait to the day after he made his debut and then sign him to this big extension, and he would have been able to get this award. He would have gotten them a supplemental pick this year in the draft, because he did finish in the top 3 for Rookie of the Year. And because they signed him to that big extension before his actual debut, they're not eligible now. That was not very smart. So let me have you give me a little bit on the Brewers and the Pirates and that decision that they made when it came to the prospect promotion incentive.
Yeah, I completely get your point here. I think, to me, there are two different situations, and the Pirates situation is 10 times, 100 times more dumb than what the Brewers did. And it's because of the consolation prize that the Brewers got. Their consolation prize for not getting this compensation pick is 8 years of Jackson Chourio at $82 million. That could be one of the biggest value contracts in Major League Baseball over the next 8 years if Jackson Chourio is what they think he can be. So, yes, I completely agree. Why did it have to be done before he stepped on a Major League Baseball field? But if that's when they could get pen on paper and sign Jackson Chourio to this deal and this team-friendly of a contract, and if he can be who they need him to be, that's going to be such a great value for that team that they won't even be worried about a compensation draft pick that they needed. The Pirates did it the worst way possible. They kept Paul Skeens down for too long. He was ready before that. Then they brought him up too late. He's not eligible for this now, and they're going to end up probably getting nothing for him. If Paul Skeens is producing as he was late in the season, actually going deep into games, actually, pitching well and going 6 innings deep, somebody is going to give him so much money after his contract is done with the Pirates. They're never going to see him again, and they're never going to get anything from him other than probably a qualifying offer compensation pick. But they could have doubled that with this incentive, and they completely lost out on it because of their mismanagement of it. And it speaks to how poorly the Pittsburgh Pirates are ran. So I think they really did a disservice to themselves and their team, then more so than the Brewers, because at least they locked Chourio down for 8 years in what could be a really, really team-friendly deal.
I agree. I mean, Paul Skeens is going to be Garrett Cole in a few years, to where he's going to get a ton of money from another team and go somewhere else, and Pittsburgh's going to be going, we're a small market team, we can't do anything. Yes, calm down, shut up, right? You messed this up from the get-go, buddy. Yes, the Pirates, I don't understand them, never understood them, and you're 100% right when you said they are poorly run. They are poorly run. And speaking of poorly run, this podcast was kind of poorly run at the beginning by me. I don't know what the heck happened. I still don't know what happened. I'm going to have to go through and take a look at some stuff and figure it all out. I actually think I do sort of know what happened, but I don't want to say anything on the air. So I'll talk to you about it later on off the air. It's one of those things. Remember we were talking about Kirby Smart and how he should have gotten all his facts together first before he said anything stupid on the air. Yeah, I'm not going to do the same thing. I just reamed Kirby Smart for it. So let's not double down, right? All right, buddy. Hey, anything you want to add to the end of this broadcast, bud?
No, yeah. I mean, it gives some insight into we're just two guys doing this and doing it for the love of it and for our fans. So we appreciate you guys sticking along through the learning process. Definitely more to come, and we'll keep getting better and putting out a better product. So appreciate all the support from the fans. Love that we can partner with the Sons of Stars podcast and guys like that and bring people that love sports into our show and go on to theirs. That's what we're doing it for. So give us some grace here while we figure some stuff out. But yeah, we will get it figured out. And I think even when we do hit the little snafus, it's still a pretty good show. So can't complain too much.
Right. All right, buddy. Hey, I certainly appreciate it. Again, we will plug our stuff here. So first, let's plug Sons of Star podcast. They are live right now on X. I know they're on Spotify. They're on several different platforms like We Want to Be Here Soon. So we are on a couple other platforms. We're here on X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it. We are also on Facebook at the 643 and Out pod on Facebook, and then the YouTube, buddy. Talk to us about YouTube, where they can get us and all that good stuff, man.
Yeah, we're at the 643 and Out pod at YouTube. You can find us there, follow along live, or just catch the shows after the fact. But you can like, subscribe, give us some comments there. You'll find the full thing in length. And then I'll make a promise this week. You're going to see our first shorts coming out on YouTube.
Uh-oh.
Clipping the show here, so you can even, if you're scrolling on your phone and want to watch a bunch of different stuff and just a little clipper here and there, you can find that there as well. So yeah, appreciate any engagement on the YouTube, and we'll see you there.
All right, guys. Thank you all very much. We certainly appreciate it. We have covered a ton of stuff today on the Sportz Truth. If you have any suggestions over things you want to see us cover, please shout us a line. You can go at the 643 and Out pod on Twitter as well. You can get us there. So, as we say at the end of every single broadcast, this time just without the music in the background, the only thing that's fair in life is a baseball hit between the third and first base lines. Good evening, everyone. Appreciate you all.